everyone! Welcome back to our channel. Today, I want to share a thought-provoking story that has left me with plenty of contemplation. Recently, I had the opportunity to accompany a delegation from the Australian government to visit an Aboriginal community. The Aboriginal people are the indigenous inhabitants of Australia, and they have been living on this continent for an incredibly long time, around 50,000 to 70,000 years, according to scientific study. That's truly remarkable. Now, if you ever visit Australia and buy some souvenirs, you might notice intricate patterns with red or black dots. Those are the famous Aboriginal art designs, and one of the most iconic symbols is the boomerang. It's something that immediately comes to mind when we think of Australia. In the past, I read an article in the Australian Economic Journal explaining why the Aboriginal people have existed for so long but haven't developed like other civilizations. It was quite intriguing. Speaking of history, when the British Empire discovered Australia, during the early days of exploration, they did some terrible things to the Aboriginal people. They committed acts of violence, enacted terrible policies, and there was even a dark era known as the Stolen Generation. Under this policy, children were forcibly taken away from their families. You can see this portrayed vividly in movies like Australia, which is definitely worth watching if you get the chance. In more recent times, Australia has become more humane and has initiated efforts to reconcile with the Aboriginal people. In the early 2000s, the Australian government publicly apologised to the Aboriginal community for past wrongs and introduced policies to provide significant support and aid. It seemed like a beautiful ending to the story, but unfortunately, these well-intentioned support policies have led to a current problem that the government is struggling with. Among us, I believe many have experienced moments of exhaustion with the daily grind, even wishing someone could take care of us financially without having to work. But there's a saying, be careful what you wish for, and it resonates with the root issue that the Aboriginal community in Australia faces. You might wonder, how could this be a problem? They live in a peaceful country, mostly supported by the government, not worrying about money or healthcare. It sounds like paradise, right? Well, it's not. When I visited their community, a heavy feeling overwhelmed the entire area and atmosphere that can only be described as haunting. Disturbingly, statistics show high rates of crime and domestic violence in these regions. The reason behind this is quite simple. Imagine being born into a life where you never have to worry or strive for anything. No need for education or profession, as government subsidies cover everything. Every day, you wake up without a purpose, not knowing what to do, and each day feels like the previous one. Over time, life becomes monotonous, and living like this becomes dreadful. Yes, initially living this way may sound alluring, but after years of such existence, it becomes an unbearable burden. This is the dilemma the Aboriginal community is facing. Now you might ask, what's the solution? Well, that's something I'm working on as part of a project for the Australian government. I hope to share more about this in the future if I'm allowed. So I share this story with you because it has made me think deeply. In our everyday lives, we may sometimes feel exhausted with our responsibilities and yearn for a simpler life. But through this story, I want to offer a different perspective that the challenges and struggles we face while striving for our goals make life more interesting and worth living, something the Aboriginal people don't have the luxury of experiencing. That's all for today's episode. If you enjoyed this content, remember to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future updates. I'm really excited about some upcoming projects, and I can't wait to share them with you all. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care and stay curious.